Boom! Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are and wherever you may be. This is another episode of Uplifting Our Community, powered by Bridge Visions. Today is a good day. Another one of those good days you get up and I say to myself, thank you, God, for letting me be here. I've made it. And I'm really feeling good about a lot of things because a lot of good things are happening my way. I always try to look for those little small things that kind of get me fired up and allow me to say, I made it, I did it, I accomplished it. And I'm so proud of myself. Those small little incremental things are so important. And as we are calibrating this safe space here, I want to ask my guys here today, name three things. I want you guys to name three things, and I'm going to start with myself and kind of go at length. Name three things, and we can go one at a time, and I'm going to start it off. Three things that you're proud of. Three things. And I'm saying this because I sit here, and this is one that I'm really I'm very happy. I'm not even fully complete with this yet, but I'm very happy with this construction going on in my home. You just don't know. I've got over $250,000 project going on currently in my home, and I'm doing this whole project for the first time, adding on 1,200 square feet to my home. Never done anything like this before, and let me tell you something. Initially it was daunting, but man, I have been doing so good. I have been wheeling and dealing with all the contractors. I got everybody humming on a great schedule. The only thing is the inconvenience. I can't schedule certain things, and that's just because of the fact that I've had other ongoing things that are going on in my life that later on are going to show up on my list. But I am proud. I am proud of what's going on in my home. I got some new sliders inside my bedroom where I can just walk straight on out to my pool now. Yeah, I know. I said I got a pool. And I don't care what anyone says, but I can get up and I can walk right outside the pool. And it is absolutely amazing. I got so many good things going on in my house. And it is just one of the biggest and one of the most prideful things that I think that I've done in my life up to this point, that I can sit back and say, I've done it. So I'm going to bring you guys in, starting one at a time. And I'm going to start with you, Dave, because Dave, I know that you're probably going to sit back there and tell us what's going on in that in that studio of yours over there. I know there's something big going on. So here, anyway, guys, welcome in. I'm bringing you in. Let's see what we got going on there. All right, let's go. You guys, go ahead, jump in there. Dave, talk to me.
Okay, the topic today is three things I'm proud of. Okay.
Pat yourself on the back, Dave. Come on.
Okay, I think one thing I'm very proud of is I make music feel honest. When I'm working with another artist, I have an ability, and I didn't know this until I started doing this 5 or 6 years ago for real, to bring out the best in another artist, to help them find that center that they're trying to find in the heart of their song. I get out of the way completely. I've completely removed myself from my ego from any kind of production work that I do for anybody. So that's one thing I'm proud of. Another thing I'm proud of is I've built, like you talked about building your house and building it out, and you're really proud of how it's going. I've built a real sanctuary here. It's something that I've always wanted and my partner's always wanted. We've spent 27 years building it. So talk about an inconvenient building schedule. We've had 27 years of making this place what it is, just so people can come up here and tune in to where we are. That's a tough one. What's the third one? I think probably my evolution from being a performer to an entertainer to an elder and more of a teacher now. where I've made that transition, and it wasn't painful at all. It's not painful at all for me to acknowledge the fact that I had to leave the young man's energy and ego behind, which is highly attractive. Believe me, it's a very attractive thing to be in. But I also am subtly, very subtly involved with my own growth and evolution into my elder years. My big thing is I'm very much okay with dying at the moment, and I'm considering the best way to leave my body. And I'm really proud of that ability to look at it objectively and with anticipation, actually. So those are my three things.
Hmm. Man, well, thank you, Dave. I knew Sanctuary Labs was going to be in there. I knew that they was going to pop up somewhere along the line because
Yep.
it's one of the things that I've been there several times myself, and I know exactly that comfort that you're talking about. The transition that you made to a teacher is something that's I guess that's you recognize more since you've created the Sanctuary Lab. I'm sure.
Mhm.
I'm sure that's popped up. Benji, next up, it's you, Benji. Talk to me now. Gordon's just popped up in here, and I want to just sit back and say, give a brief moment of silence to Gordon. I know he's having some stuff going on with his family, and I don't want to just air things out for you, man. But my heart goes out to you, brother. You know where I go with you, man. I hope everything's okay. And I wasn't expecting you to pop up today. I didn't question you online because I figured you got a lot of stuff going on your way right now. So my prayers are going up to you again today. All right, bro. All right. With that being said, Benji, we the subject we're talking about were three things that you're very proud of. Patting yourself on your back now, Benji. I know you're a prideful man and you don't like talking about yourself and making yourself feel good and big and bad. I know
No,
you don't,
I
but
don't.
just for now, just for now, at length,
Sure,
now,
sure.
talk about some of these things that you've done.
I think more so than anything else, surrendering to my kids and my grandkids' journey, right, with them, to be there and be present for them, to show up not just physically but also emotionally and spiritually as well. And then now they're more so require my spirituality and my emotion, not so much my financial. So that's important to me. That's for me is a growth, personal growth. Those are things, material things and things like that. Building companies and things like that, I'm proud of. I was one of the few people that have been able to build like two solid company. But at this point in my life, it's actually pretty boring. The material stuff is really boring for me. But the other thing right now that I'm so proud of, this is back to uh, my days being like, you're born a peasant to be a peasant. So this is kind of like I published multiple books. I got more books coming up. My writing's gotten much more intentional, sincere, and so I'm proud of that so much. The result is going to be the result, but ultimately, my ability to kind of continue going forward with all of the criticism and all the chaos, I'm still pushing forward. I'm proud of that fact that I can grind, and I always had the talent, but what I've learned is to grind.
Hmm.
Sound good?
Is that all good? Yeah, that's all good. I mean, your writings are a reflection of what's going on in your life, obviously, and
Yeah.
that's pretty big for you right now. And I know you mentioned this thing. This list that we're talking about is not all inclusive.
Hmm.
So this
Yeah.
is just some of the things that you can pat your back on. You pat your back on, say, "Hey, I'm proud that I've done it, or I've made it, and I've moved here, or I've done these things." And obviously, kids are a big thing for you too, Benji.
Yeah.
And
They're not my physical kids, but the thing is, I always been able to feed people all my life. Animals, people, they come to my house to get fed. Food wise, spiritual wise, material wise, they all come to my house. My door has always been open, and in the last few years, it was a little more tougher. But now the door is open again. That's for me. It was like a big accomplishment because being the only child and being the only one to kind of do my own thing. I've been on my own for so long, and able to offer that to the community, it was a pretty big deal for me because for me, it's like it tells me my heart's still open. That's my accomplishment. The material, the house, the cars, and all that. I got that so early, so for me, and I dig what you're saying about the pool and all that stuff. You know, I get all that, but for right now, that's not where my space is. But
Mm.
enjoy the pool because you're gonna do a lot of cleaning. Let me tell you.
Hey, trust me, I don't like it right now, to be honest with you. It's a pain in the neck, but you know what? It's this is my castle, you
Yep.
know, and I'm at
Yep.
this period and point now in
Yep.
my life where
Yep.
I'm looking at legacy and I'm looking
Yep.
at what I'm leaving. Now,
Yep.
at my age, I'm still relatively young, as
Yep.
some would say. But you know what? The people that I put in this trust, that when
Yep.
they get a hold of this stuff, they're gonna be like, "Wow, hey, thanks. Yeah, he put a lot of good work in." And that's what I'm looking at, something like that. I think
Yeah.
when I was growing up, I used to always hear about, oh, this is my daddy's house, or this is my grandfather's house. And I really never knew what that meant until
Yeah.
this point in my life right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with that being said, I got my in-laws coming in and I got to go grab
Yeah.
them up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going
Yeah.
to put it up to you, Gordon. I'm going to have you just say one thing ad nauseum, that talk at length about one of the three things, as we're going to come back around again, that you're very, very proud of, that have really made you say, man, you know what? I'm going to pat myself on the back in front of everybody. I don't care. I'm going to declare to the world, I'm wearing a badge now. I made it. I'm him. And what's one, two, three, if you could at this time. I'm going to jump out myself real quick, briefly, but please, if you can.
Okay, yeah. So can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
I was having some technical difficulty trying to log on. But I think for me, I think so. I guess the first thing that came to my mind is I've been married over 20 years. And um that was something that before I got married, that was something I was terrified of. I did it was a huge thing, right? And I probably made it bigger than it needed to be. Because I was with my wife probably 6 years before we got married.
Mm.
And to some people that's a lot, to some people it's not a lot. That's no, I don't know. But for me, there really, looking back on it, there really wasn't a good reason why we didn't get married sooner. It was more just my fear, is really all it was. Um, I didn't necessarily grow up around any healthy marriages. I didn't and am still learning, say, the sanctity of marriage. Um, I'm learning the power of marriage. I'm learning about myself, about my wife, um, the humility that marriage brings, because you have to you have to recognize that this is a partner, right? 50-50, right? And so that can be a tough thing, to really put that much trust in another person. To think that we would even make it this far was just not something that I even thought about. And so, for us, it was really rough. It was really up and down at the beginning. Before we got married, there was a lot of ups and downs. After we got married, there were a lot of ups and downs. We actually had my oldest son out of, I guess it's called out of wedlock. Like we had a kid before we got married. We didn't use another kind of a good thing. We didn't use my son as a reason to force ourselves to get married. We wanted to get married for the right reasons, and for me, is getting over that fear. And so, but now looking back, I'm just grateful and thankful that she stuck it out with me, because I am not an easy person to be that 50-50 even partners with and all of that. Um, and so, yeah, so that the first thing I thought about was, the fact that I've been married. It's been 21 years now. Yeah, 21, going on 22 soon, but 21 years I've been married. The second thing is probably our boys. We have 4 boys, and we're very proud of our boys. We can try to take credit, but there's only so much credit you can take because I've been learning more from my boys than I feel like I've been teaching them. And so I think of the kind of young men that our boys are becoming. I'm super proud of that. And I know I played some kind of role in there. Obviously, my wife played a huge role in that. Our community, our extended family. We tried to do it in a way where everybody was involved. It wasn't just the immediate family. I'll give you an example. When my oldest is 24, he's going to be 25 soon. When he got married about 2 years ago. And part of the process of getting married in the Baha'i faith is that both of the two that are getting married need to get permission from their parents. Doesn't matter how old you are. There needs to be parental permission. And it's not so much, say, giving power to the parents or taking power from the couple that wants to get married. It's more of a unity thing. Let's get everybody involved. Let's get the it's only one generation, but the ancestors involved. Let's get the experience in there. Let's learn from each other. And so when my son came to us and told us that he wanted to get married, we actually made a list of people we wanted him to talk to and to get advice from, not just me and my wife, Anna. We had a list of a good, probably 10, 15 people. We said, before you get married, we want you to talk to all of these people. And they did. And they at the beginning, they were like, this is, what are you crazy? What is this? Right. But after a couple of conversations with those people, because I didn't talk to them, I let them know that my son was going to reach out, but I didn't want to taint them, I guess. I wanted them to get like a real, like, honest, raw advice from them, not just from me and Anna. And so they talked to all of them, and a couple conversations in, they were super grateful that they did have all those conversations with all those people. And so our boys were raised by a community. And so although I am proud of them, I can't take 100%, even 50%, right? I can't even take that, my portion of credit. I can only take a small part of credit of that. But I do. I feel like I was a big influence in our boys being raised and becoming the young men that they're becoming. And so the third thing is my personal evolution. Because back in 2015, I made a decision that I wanted to be more involved in my community, more involved in the city, in our neighborhood, obviously, but then even beyond, in the city and things like that. And naturally, I'm a very introverted, very reserved, private person. And I'm still, to some extent, that. I have my lines, and as far as like how much stuff I share, how personal I get with all of that. But in general, going to, say, a city council meeting and speaking in front of this audience was not something that I could potentially do prior to that. And when I made that decision to get more involved, just public speaking in general was, terrifying to me. And so, but now I'm involved in a lot of things through the city. I'm involved in a couple of nonprofits that I've been volunteering with for a while. I even sat on boards and played different roles on board of directors for nonprofits and things like that. But that was really the person that I am today, right now, is not who I was 10 years ago. Not even, I mean, it's evolution. So it's not like I'm a different person, but I mean, the fact that I can just talk and share openly and whatever is way outside of my comfort zone, say 10, 15 years ago. And so the three things are my marriage, my boys, and my personal growth, I guess.
Go ahead, Gordon. That's my man.
Hmm.
I knew it. I knew that the boys were going to be in there. And I'm along with you on that personal growth train. I had my three here was my current construction in my home first and foremost. Second, I had was taking care of myself for enrolling in some programs and things and start saying, hey, let me look at who I am and straighten myself out. One was that course with that was that landmark course that I went that of course I bring it up with Benji that actually got us to this position where we're at right now that really pushed us to doing this weekly. It's been I'm very, very proud of what we have started here as far as having an area where we can talk about these kind of things. That's a huge thing. And as we trying to solidify what we're doing here more than after this construction is in my home, I can do more things and lock in a little bit more consistency, and we start trying to expand with more other individuals in here. With this core, what we got right here, one of the big things that I see that has been amazing is everyone here is in that teaching mode. Everyone is here in that stage in life where they've experienced, they've been seasoned just enough where they look forward to and they're looking interested in helping others. Benji with your kids, Dave and your teaching and your music, and you set the lab up. That's what it's all about. Sanctuary Lab is really it's its own medicine place. I mean, you're going there for healing. Gordon. I mean, my goodness. I always talk about the story about your son up in LA and the things that he's done. I mean, that's one of the most greatest child rearing stories that I could ever think of. And your humility, to me, is probably even bigger than that because you always just one of those things that happens. And dude, I've worked in a prison where the guys that didn't get what you gave to him, what you instilled in him, that structure, that consistency, that integrity, but that you instilled into your sons, they never got it. That's why they ended up in the prisons with me because of that. It's really, really, that's why I really want this space to be one of those things where we can dig deep and I ask some of the questions that I do because there's a certain point you got to look at yourself and say, hey man, I'm doing the damn thing. I'm actually out here putting in some work and nobody knows what I'm doing. Nobody knows, but you know what? You got a couple guys here, you sit around the beer, some guys sit around in the bar and they have a couple of drinks and they talk trash about their accomplishments. Well, this is what I would like to see that this turns into. One of those places where we can uplift others and we have that ability to say, hey man, you know what? I actually did something this time, man. I actually finally signed those divorce papers or I did whatever I need to do, because this is not something that is helping my growth. And that's why we're here. I just wanted to, have that conversation because it's very important. The third thing that I had on my list was why I actually left here a moment ago was because of the caregiving that I'm doing with my family, with my in-laws. If you've never done it before or have experienced it before, you get to see if you've never raised kids before, you get to see all this stuff re-wrapped up again in caregiving seniors. I'll say that in particular with memory care issues. And you start to thinking about what am I going to leave when it's my turn, when I get to that point in my age, when I can't get around that as well. And who's going to be there for me, in particular with all the stuff going on around in this in the climate in this country right now. It's really, we're talking about taking benefits and things. It's just really, really big to me that I just feel really proud that I got my in-laws before a lot of this stuff started getting crazy. I mean, I sit back and I watch them turn on the TV and they're kind of going in their own world, watching TV. They take it in and they don't know where to put it out at. They don't have a place to let that go whenever they hear these things. So I have to talk through them and hear their stories from their point of view. You know, this is 1930s, 34. You know, their conversations, and still lucid. So there's been major changes for them. And when you're talking about pulling away benefits, and you know, now that they're in home with us, I just thought it was big today to ask you guys again. I'm going to do a second round in particular because Dave, you went first. Is there anything else that you can say that you're proud of with the things that we talked about? With now, I'm not trying to put you on blast and make you throw out your inner demons. Hey, I stopped drinking Michelob Lights, you know, whatever, you know. But you know, just thinking back, the small things, because these are the small things that make you who you are, and your steps. So I'm just curious, going back around, you know, round robin, you know, I'm spinning that wheel on Let's Make a Deal. You know, what's something that you're proud about, that you really haven't talked to nobody about? Like, man, if you took the trash out consecutively for the last 3 weeks, like you haven't forgot, like I did this past week, because I've been kind of busy. I didn't take the trash out, you know, but something big, that's small, that's big for you.
You talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
Okay. Well, that was actually kind of easy because I had a good home. I'm going to start with that. Nothing I'm saying now is a reflection of my parents or their character or how they schooled me. This was all me. When I left home, I left at 17. I hopped in my VW camper van that was fully loaded for living in. And I was doing camper van life before it was a thing back in 1967. And I jumped in because that was the culture at the time. The culture at the time was rock and roll. For me, was rock and roll. And in the LA Long Beach scene where I was at, it was just all drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll was the scene. If you were not in that scene, you were not working. And so I got deep, deep, deep into all manner of drugs. I went through every kind of drug you can think of: pharmaceuticals, psychedelics, marijuana, booze. I did them all, and I did them all heavily for a very long time. The only thing that saved me was I have a strong body and a very strong mind. I always knew where the drug was and where I was. So I didn't have a bad trip because I got all kinds of theories on drugs because I was a committed, fully blown, it was lifestyle druggie for like 3 decades. So, and it was a long time. What I'm proud of is, first of all, that I came away from it. I actually just outgrew all my bad habits because I just got tired of doing it. It didn't kill me, so I just stopped doing it. And that's when I started waking up. And what I'm really proud of is the fact that I started off by being incredibly addicted to my ego and my ability, because I was gifted as a guitar player. I wasn't just okay. You couldn't hear me play and go, oh yeah, that's okay. It usually floored people because I spent 8 to 12 hours every day for 10 years playing and practicing and studying classical music, blues, folk music. I did it all, and I did it all well. But my arrogance was so insufferable. I can't even imagine. You guys would have not been in the same room with me during that period of my life, because I was completely unaware of other people's feelings. I was all about strategy. I was all about making things happen. I was all about being the best, number one, the only guy in town. I was that guy, and he's the guy you meet at the party, and all he can talk about is himself and his accomplishments. And I did that, and I got to experience things that most people never experience. So what I'm really proud of in that whole sordid tale is that, first of all, it didn't kill me, and I can't assign that to myself. That was just good genetics. And I just was determined to eat and sleep and do what I had to keep my body healthy. And plus that, I was very physical at that time. I was all over the map with hiking and camping and doing some radical extreme things with my body and nature. But that was just what was happening under the hood. I've always been on a spiritual journey, even when I was in the midst of the worst of my hedonism, when I was having sex with everything that moved, when I was taking every drug there was. But at the same time, I was studying comparative religions. I was looking at psychology and the human mind.
Mm.
My intellect has always been curious. I have never been able to fully commit to self-destruction. It's just sort of been an edge that I play with. I go out to the edge and I play on it.
Let me ask you this, Dave. Do you think that that was a learned behavior, or did you copy? Did you copy that? Did you just?
No, I did everything on purpose, Sam. I went out there and I said, no, I want to know what an acid trip is like. So I tried it. I met two chemists at Long Beach State that were making the LSD. It was pure LSD. And they used me as a guinea pig for a couple of years. And they kept taking me farther and farther out. And I was keeping a journal for them because I was like a lab rat that could take notes. And so I would go out on these wild ass adventures and have a journal. And I just hand it over to them in the lab, and they would, I don't know what they got out of it, but I did everything on purpose. I went after it. I went after the sex full blown. I went after the drugs full blown. I went after the stage performing full blown. I did everything on purpose, but I treated it more. I was my own lab rat. I was a social experiment with what is life? Where am I going with this? And I really didn't care because I didn't have a plan. I just knew that I could do anything I wanted, and I did. I did everything I wanted.
Let me ask you this. I got to stop to ask this. This question's come to me now. Do you think that because they were feeding you the drugs or allowing you to have those drugs, that's what kept you going along that path? Or did you get strong enough to that point where you said, I'm done, I don't need any more, and moved away from it? How did that?
Oh, no. What? No, I was doing all kinds of drugs besides acid. And those guys, they withdrew from me because I scared the fuck out of them. Excuse my French. I just kept saying, I want more. I want more. I want more. And they would, at some point, they realized their liability in it. And after about a year and 3/4, they said, no more. You can't come here anymore. And so they completed their studies. And I just moved on to go into mushrooms and psilocybin and organic and peyote. That was my next phase of the psychedelics. And all during that time, I was doing black beauties, speed, cross tops. I was doing cocaine, all of those things in the scene, because after parties, that was all that was there. It was just sex and drugs after the show was over. I burn out on that too. But so the thing I'm most proud of, you asked me, that's my darkest secret. What I'm most proud of is that I learned from it. I took away from it. I didn't say, oh, I'm ashamed of it. No, I did it on purpose. And that was just where my head was at. And because I was so drug-addled and so arrogant, I didn't see it as a bad thing. I just saw it as, that's what I did. And I still see it that way. And maybe that's still a bit of arrogance. But I don't think so. I think what's happened for me is I understand that if you do everything on purpose and you understand that it's just a life lesson, then you can use the information to maybe steer someone out of that path, because it's not something I just survived by dumb luck and genetics.
Listen, Dave, you did a great job. That's to sit back there and say that's a small thing to you. I mean, man, that would have been on top with all the drugs that you were using. And I remember reading about those experiments they're doing back in the day in that area, and you were actually a part of that. That's pretty amazing that you are here. I mean, I appreciate you because you've taken that experience, like you said, and you flipped it around, and now it's like you're teaching and you're giving it back. You're giving back, at least to those that are willing to hear. At least to those.
You can't teach anybody anything, Sam, unless they want to hear it. You know that. All you guys know that.
There you go.
If you're trying to impart something to somebody and they don't want to hear it, they're not learning anything.
Yeah.
You just got to know when to kick in as a teacher and when to sit back and just be an ear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. So with that being said, Benji, round robin, back to you. Is there something else that you can say that you're proud of? I know they got this great steak and barbecue grill place out there in Texas that you go to, that you can get the best steaks and you can make you look like you're the biggest man in town. But is there something else that says, Benji, makes me feel like, Benji, I've made it, I've arrived, and I've never really told nobody about it, but I'm gonna talk about it today. I'm the best kazoo player this side of the Mississippi. You know, I can do it better than anybody else. I mean,
It's not so much. I think the same theme as Dave, right? It's the personal growth, right? So the thing that we went through with the landmark form allowed me to understand the lesson of my mother, right? What that was really hard for me, right? That was something that I realized was a gift to me for this lifetime, and as well as both my dad, right? My birth dad and my stepdad. My birth dad was graceful, elegant, sexy guy. My stepfather was a soldier, a grinder. So I got both the traits, right? So that was a gift from them I didn't realize until now. What my mother gave me, I didn't realize that is her beauty. I'm 61 now, and I like my friend. She's like, "You got to be kidding me! Your skin is like a baby." I'm like, "Are you kidding?" I'm like, I have never heard somebody say that to me so many, and I get people say that to me all the time. And I realize that's a gift from my mother, right? And she never got to live as long. Like she passed at 66, but at the end of it was really hard for her. But what I realized for me, what I'm proud of, I was able to, like Dave, absorb all those teaching, get the nuggets from there, and then pass that on to my
Yeah.
kids and the world, right? So I love sitting in bars. I love going out and all that stuff. But like you, I'm sitting here going, I don't have to sit there and be loud about it. It's like they see me all the time. They'll come and talk to me about things, because that is that is like the grace of my father, where that they know what I am. I don't have to reach out when they're ready to talk. They talk. My kids are the same way. Like my adopted daughter Brittany, I won't hear for her for like months and months, but she knows that when she needs me, she can call me and I show up. And that was a big deal for me because I'm usually on the road, whatever it is. I make time for everybody. For me, that's my proudest moment because when she was going through some hard time, I don't know where I was, but I dropped everything and got back home. And that was my thing. And so these are things like more than anything else, the lesson in life, what's important, what value, I can pass on. The rest of the stuff from the material world and society, honestly, I don't mean to be rude, but it bores me to tears because I'm sitting here. We are the artists of our life. We control the channel. So if you focus on the right channel, the right one will show up. Unfortunately, we are still like hooked onto the society channel right now. So right now, I'm trying to turn the channel around because all this here tell us that we are not in the right vibration yet. And so, for me, this is what we're working on right now. Specifically, this group right here is to raise that vibration so we can change the channel. So thank you for doing this, Sam. I appreciate you so
Yeah.
much. Okay.
Hey, Benji, listen, this is you, bro. You know, we had a conversations and we talked, and again, seriously, hey, Gordon too. I mean, we sat back. We have had conversations over these years, and things pop around, and things happen when they were supposed to happen. You know, slowly but surely. You just don't know. Like I said last week, we didn't get a chance to record, but we got. I told you earlier, I was proud about this stuff working with these contractors. It can be a trip. Don't get me wrong. I'm not doing it all right. You know what I mean? There's been some things we got to take back in and lost some money because I pulled it this way and I try to get it a little smooth on this end, but I've learned. But I'm very proud of it. And when I look at all the things that I'm learning, everything, that same thing what we're talking about here, we're taking these hurts that we've had in our lives and we internalize them, and we said, hey, let me tell you something, Dave, you're going to Sanctuary Labs, take this chord, you do it this way because it's going to sound a lot better. You know, Gordon, when you go up to your son and you sit back and you show him by example, which is even the biggest thing to me, is the biggest thing is more important is what you're doing, Gordon. And I just say this because you set that example. You said you're setting out men, and we need more men out to step out there who sit back there and go, hey, you know, this is what my father taught me, and this is how I'm doing it. And I don't know about what you learned or what you said, but this is what my father taught me, and this is what I know is good, and it came from a good place, and it's what I'm going to put out is going to be just as good as what my dad did. So I always, Gordon, you always going to get my, you got my brotherhood right there, man. That's big and it's huge. And like I said, your humility about it to me is like, oh, this dude, you don't know how powerful it is. It is extremely powerful what you're doing. You pass it on. All of us in our own ways have tripped and fell on things, and we want to pass that experience on through our crafts, through our conversations, and again, starting through here. This is where we're at. This is the area where you sit back and we talk about these things, and we don't have to worry about getting laughed about because some person doesn't really have that high-minded vibration that we're talking about to sit back there and listen and go, man, what is this goofy stuff they're talking about? Man, what is that? Man, I don't want to hear that mess.
I love your phrase that we take the hurt and we grow it from that, right? It's like watching that Rocky movie, it's like he keep getting hit, but he keep getting up, and that's what we did. That's what men do, right? And the thing is, and this is back to what we're talking about. We need better men, right? And we need like more sincere, truly men, not boys, right? And because I got this kid living in my garage, right? I'm sitting here going, who teach you to do that? That was his father, right? I'm like, dude, you're 40 some years old. You should not be doing that. I would crawl and I would go work at McDonald's before I do something like that, right? I would go work at, like In-N-Out Burger, whatever it is, to do what it is to be like a man should do, to be that it doesn't matter what you do. Our job as men is to provide not only money, but safety and growth for our family, right? So that was a big thing with me. And I didn't realize how that came about until like we talk about doing the landmark farm. It hit me so hard. That was my dad. Both my dad was giving me that. My birth dad gave me the skill. My stepdad gave me the grind, the work that I needed to be a blue collar guy and to be humble about it, things like that. So but watching like you and everybody here talk about their growth is phenomenal. And here's the thing: we all have our gifts to share to the world. We don't have to like broadcast it. It's going to show up. People just show up at my door all the time, right? So I'm like, okay. So I have to be ready when they show up. That's the only thing I gotta do.
Hey, you're right. You're right. I mean, that's what it's all about. We're trying to move on and establish something great here. You got something to say, Dave?
I always got something to say, Sam. I never don't have nothing to say. I think the one driving thing that underlying, since I've been thinking about this for a very long time, there's always an underlying driver in all of humanity. And there's this overall tension that all of us, especially in this time right now, we feel this collective anxiety because all humans are empathic. And we all feel this collective anxiety that's being created by our own government, which is, I don't want to get into a political discussion, but all of it's driven by fear. And here's the thing. The only time that fear works is when you let it. If you look fear in the eye, if you're willing to die, when they say, well, we're going to throw you in jail, we're going to take your business away, we're going to ruin your money, we're going to get rid of your reputation, you got to be willing to go there. You got to be willing to say, okay, take it. It's yours. If you're not willing to do that, then they have the power over you. If you're willing to die for what you believe in, nobody can take nothing from you. Nobody can take nothing from you. And I think that was one of the things that I got innately in my blueprint when I came in. I just learned to do everything on purpose and own it. I didn't lie about it. And I lost friends and family over that because I wouldn't lie about what I said or did. I'd just say, yeah, I said that. And even if it was hurtful or wrong, I'd say, well, that's not how I meant it, or I'd try to explain it. But a lot of times you can't explain it because it was a terrible thing to do. It was the wrong thing at the wrong time for that person to experience, and you facilitated it. And so you got to own that. But you can't beat yourself up about it, and you can't give in to fear. And so what I think the best lesson the four of us could do for all of those around us that we love is to not go into fear with them. If they start going into fear, you've got to relax. You can't tell them to not feel it, but you can relax for a minute and just hold that space for them. Put your heart in the room and make it get bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, I've learned, here's one thing I've learned, that a person can only loop 3 to 6 times on the same topic before they start sounding foolish to themselves or whiny to themselves, or they just get tired of hearing themselves. If you can outpatience them and you can listen to them do that 3 to 6 times, they're going to stop on their own, and then their ears are open because they don't know what you're going to say. Are you going to embarrass them? Are you going to attack them? Are you going to have a different point of view and try to humiliate them into learning something? Or are you going to pat them on the back and say, you know what, I've been there. It's a hard place, you know, and I can't fix it, but this is how I solved it. And that's all you can do. You can only come back at it with love. And I'm not talking about the love that we all mistake, the little love, the little L. That's possession and ego and all kinds of things where we want to control and we want to lust and we want to do all those things. I'm talking about the big L, where there's nothing in it for you. It's just the morally correct thing to do. And you're going to do the morally correct thing, whether it's good for you or it's not good for you. And I can't tell you how many times I've eaten the bad taco because I had to own up to it. And I did. But I owned up to it. And what I have found that most people have this giant bag of garbage that they carry around behind them their whole life because they keep throwing stuff in the back and they don't address it. I don't have, I have a little paper bag of bad things in my life because I've looked at everything, owned it, and I've been trying to make amends to every single person that I've ever wronged. If I can't reach them, I do a ceremony at my house. I'm a big ceremonial guy. I'll go out into the woods and I'll release it to the world. I'll write it on a piece of paper and burn it with good intentions. There's many ways to make it right. But as the Christians would say, you got to name your demons. If you can name a demon, it no longer has any power over you. And so the way I look at it is fear is that demon that we're all afraid to talk about. We're afraid to own our bad mistakes. We're afraid to own the things that we said and did on purpose that we don't, oh, no, I didn't mean that. All that plausible deniability, it's just BS. You got to own it. You got to look that person right in the eye and say, yes, I meant to hurt you. And you've got to own it and let them get it off their chest. And then it's done. It's done. It doesn't come back anymore. It's finished. And you can make amends and actually learn to respect each other again. And that takes a lot of courage on both parts.
You know, Dave, I was thinking about, and when you were talking earlier, I was thinking about, was going to give you an old prison story.
Bring it on.
You know, when you talked about earlier about stepping up into your position where you're at, you know, I worked down at the federal prison downtown San Diego. And we had plenty of times where you had the earthquakes in there. When you're depending on where you're at, and this is the federal prison now, depending on where you're at, how high you are, the lower you are is not so bad, but in the higher parts when that earthquake's coming, this thing is shaking up top here like this, and these guys up here are going absolutely batshit crazy, right? Yeah. And what it is I was happened to be on there one night when it happened. I'm sitting back there, and what happened is I'm sitting back morning watch, and all of a sudden things start shaking. It's going back to how you present yourself in the middle of the storm, and that's the challenge that I have. You know, every week I try to challenge you guys about doing something, whether it's jumping on the app and putting something down. This is my challenge. Look at whenever you get stressed, how you act in that very exact moment. How you act, because you don't know. There's little things that could be going on. Your doorbell can ring, and you might have some social anxiety. You might, you know, but think about it. Try to hold that thought in and think about how you act in that moment. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, I'm here. This building is shaking, and all of a sudden I go up to the building, and right in the middle, and the guys are hanging on the bars. Hey! They're screaming because the building is shaking and rocking, and I'm kind of like trying to get my balance, you know, because I'm like, this thing is rocking. So everybody's like, I went up from the office area out into the middle area, and I'm in the middle of the whole quad, and it's shaking. These guys are screaming, and after a while they saw me, and I was like, okay, guys, hold on, right? And we're all in this together, you know. So this thing is shaking and rocking, and all of a sudden the thing kind of stops, and all of a sudden I'm hearing it's just, okay, the guys are calling because they're all watching me. I got the key to open the gates and doing everything else. So as I've got the guys calm down, upstairs up top, there we can hear them guys screaming, ah! You know, the guy up top went crazy. He ran out the building, out through one of the hallways, and those guys are left alone. So when you go up there, you got to calm down these guys. You know what I'm saying? In the middle of all this, these guys are watching you, and they want to see how you act. And at that time, they call that guy Shaky now. Every time they saw him, hey, Shaky's in the house. Shaky's in the house. That's what they would call a guy, because this guy, under pressure,
Correct.
This is how he cracked.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not to sit back and say that's, you know, those are some extreme things, but I challenge you. In that moment of time, you get that little bit of stress throughout this week. See where you stand and how you act, because these things are important, because each and every one of us here talked about lessons, hurts that we all had previously, where we want to pass on to this next generation, to this next person. We want to pass on that little bit of knowledge to help them move forward. So that's my prison story for the week. I just want to throw that out there. And Gordon, any comments that you want to say about that?
I like how both of you mentioned how you handle yourself in times of adversity, right? Because it's a reflection of your growth. It's like a reflection of your knowledge, like your self-knowledge. It's a reflection of what you've been through, right? Because something that has never happened to you, and this brand new challenge, almost anybody's gonna be shook the first time around, right? It's not until they've been through it a couple times, they're a little salty, they're a little, experienced in these challenges, that you kind of look at it and say, okay, I know what the results of this, I know how to react to this. And so part of it is your reaction and how that helps you as an individual, that personal growth, right? And then the other part is your reaction in times of adversity and how it helps the people around you, right? Whether you're in prison and it's just a bunch of guys that might not necessarily have any love for you, but they're still looking at you for leadership. Mm-hmm. Or if you're in the community and you're with people that you interact with on a regular basis, or when you're around your family, your spouse and your kids are watching, and they're feeding off of that. They're like, okay, how's she going to react, or what? And they can, even if they're not directly experiencing it, it gives them a little bit of experience, if that makes any sense, right? Whatever the adversity is might not be happening directly to them, but if you're very open and transparent about it, and they're seeing, oh, my dad went through whatever, bankruptcy, or he went through divorce, or he went through this, or he went through that, and this is how he reacted. He actually grew from it instead of being kicked down.
Yeah,
it helps them. If they ever come to that, maybe they might think back, oh, this happened to my dad. It's never happened to me. It's scary as hell, but it happened to my dad, and he took it relatively smoothly, right? And hopefully we don't go through things like divorce and bankruptcy and things like that multiple times, right? But adversity is adversity for the most part, right? There are new things that happen that we're sometimes caught off guard. But if we truly have a certain level of confidence in ourselves, even those new adversities, we're like, okay, here it comes. I'm ready for it. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but bring it on. I'm ready. Let's do this, right? And then you work through it. And as all of us, I think, said, we grow through these challenges and we turn a negative into a positive.
Yep.
That's what's up. It's I guess the biggest part that I got from you is optics. What it looks like for some folks, what it looks like. A lot of things that it seems to me, not to get too political, I'll just say like this. A lot of things are being done because it looks like this, and everyone is reacting off the look. What is it this guy's looking like? Just like you were mentioning, Dave, you don't just jump for because there's a lot of snow. There's a lot of snow and fluff going on right now, And a lot of it is just optics. You know, things are being said and markets are jumping because of what is being said, and it's not really what's necessarily happening. And it's just being observant optics. Again, you know, we're getting ready to run up to this last, we have about 5 minutes to go. I challenge you all this weekend here. We're big and bad up in here. The four of us are up in here right now on this web cams and everything else. But I challenge you, when you walk out in the street, just puff your chest out a little bit, feel good about who you are, speak to someone with some confidence, and try to give that energy out that you want returned back to you. I just challenge you all that. You know, you go out there and just, nothing's going to change unless we do it.
Yeah.
And this is where it starts. So, you know, take this out with these conversations that we have, and it might start with just the mailman out front. You know, sometimes I get in here because there's been times where I get so kind of frustrated with what's going on, these contractors, that I got stuff going on. I'm writing papers down, and someone comes in, I'm like, what? You know, and let me slow down for a moment. What can I do for it? You know, because someone else is having just about as bad a day as you are. And it's just, be aware of your situation. And that's where my challenge is. And again, thank you all for coming in today, because I think we had a great conversation about plenty of things. And there are plenty other things that I'm sure we're proud of. So with that being said, and in respect to everyone's time, thank you for this episode, and catch you on the next one. Peace.